What's going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be doing our deep dive for the New Orleans Saints in 2024. This series is going to be broken down into 3 different parts. It's going to be a draft class breakdown, a depth chart breakdown, as well as a records prediction. So, super excited for that. Let's get on with it. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. If you guys want to get more involved in the community or want to take advantage of our sponsors, because we have some pretty damn awesome deals, feel free to use that link tree. It's all there for you. Just click the link and it'll just take you to wherever you want to go. Let's get right into this. Starting off with the draft class. First round, Talifuaga. That was my guy coming into the year. I think he was my tackle. I think he was my right tackle #1 coming into the year, which was awesome. Going to be one of those dudes that I'm going to look back on favorably, ending up loving before pretty much everybody else. But, you know, I've had a lot of guys who I haven't loved before everybody else I ended up loving. So I'll just at least be able to celebrate one win here and there, because Talifuaga really is. He was that special to me. I got to meet him there in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl, so that's pretty damn cool. And, you know, he's going to be a really solid option for you. You're kicking him to left tackle, so I'm going to be very excited to see how that ends up playing out. But regardless, we'll talk about your situation on the offensive tackle side right now, but it doesn't look overly favorable based on Ryan Ramchik's knee. But again, Talifuaga is going to be a really good contributor for you for a while. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I mean, talk about an embarrassment of riches. Your corner core arguably is one of the best, if not the best in the league, and then you just added an absolute steal and a true corner one who was just dealing with some foot issues and still playing really well. Then you dropped all the way to the 5th round, stole Spencer Rattler. That's awesome. Like, you know, Derek Carr is very underwhelming to me, but Spencer Rattler, he has a ton of potential. Again, another guy who I got to see down in Mobile. Do I think he is like a superstar quarterback? No, but at pick 150, you have the upside of someone who really could be awesome. Then you got Bub Means at 170. It might have been my least favorite pick, but I think that's more showing to how damn awesome your draft was. I thought there were some other receivers that were a little bit more valuable, but he is really fun to watch, and he's a really good player. So don't sleep on Bub Means. He might be my least favorite pick, but there's a reason I gave you guys, I think I might have given you guys the highest overall grade of your draft. But Jalen Ford, I mean, that guy is awesome to me. And the fact that you're going to be using him like Zach Bond, that's everything. Like, he really is someone who should be passing, rushing the passer as well. Like, he's a real enforcer, and the fact that you already have a sort of mold for him is amazing. Christian Boyd at 199. That's really good value for him. People were talking about him as a 3rd round, if not 2nd round pick. He shined out at the Shrine Bowl, and you know, it's great that we have those bowls, because you get to see talent like that really rise against really good talent. And Christian Boyd ended up being on all of our radars, just has a little bit shorter arms, but I'm glad you guys are investing in the defensive interior. And then you got Josiah Aziram in the 7th round. I'm not going to shame a team ever for going offensive line, especially that late. So overall, you guys did a fantastic job. You know, there weren't picks that blew me away outside of the first 3, but that's a pretty good those are pretty good picks to select as the ones that are really damn solid. Let's move on and let's talk about the offense. Yeah, you're going to see the overall grade. It's not great, but we'll talk about it. We go skill position to line, then line to skill position for defense. Derek Carr, just underwhelming. I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. I mean, people try to mark him up as like probably like the 30th to 32nd best quarterback in the NFL. I think it's like that 30 to 20 range, and you might find that offensive. You know, again, sorry to hurt your feelings, but, you know, you'll have to name a lot of the quarterbacks that he's better than, because there's not that many. But there's also, I'm leaning more towards closer to the 20 range than to the 30. But still, not an elite quarterback. There's a reason that you guys ended up investing in Spencer Rattler. Alvin Kamara, there's issues. There's issues there. He is very, very expensive. I mean, he hasn't been the supreme back in terms of being wins above replacement wise that he was years ago. But, I mean, the talent's always there through the roof. Probably the hardest guy to tackle, one of the best route runners in the NFL at the running back position. So he's a good player. It's just really, really expensive. And when you're in cap hell, it doesn't always lean favorably towards a low value position getting paid a ton of money. I'm not going to really talk about Prentice. I just put him in there because he's listed. This is based on our lad, so feel free to call out some stuff. My most recent video with the Cardinals ended up being where our lads got called out for being wrong, because Mac Wilson is supposed to be starting, which makes me like the Cardinals a little bit more. Not that much, but a little bit. Look at the receivers in tight end, the receiving crew. Juwan Johnson at tight end doesn't move the needle for me. I'm actually, I have him added on LinkedIn. Like we follow each other on LinkedIn, so that's pretty entertaining. But besides that, there's not really much that gets me excited. You got Foster Moreau there as well. Looking at the receivers though, Rashid Shaheed's solid. I do like him. He's in a contract year, so this is something that, you might have some extra motivation from his side. You got A.T. Perry there as well. Has not really been able to go into his own zone yet, but he has had those flashes, and I really did like him there at Wake Forest. Then you got Chris Olave, obviously the MVP pretty much of the offense at this point. Nifty route runner from the Ohio State University. I don't think that he's like a top 10 receiver in the NFL, but he is able to, especially on this offense, carry it well enough. So I do like that. Then we look at the offensive line. Already talked about Tali Fuaga. Nick Saldiveri was another player who I really, really liked. And I'm glad that he's able to at least be listed as a starter, but I don't know if that's a good thing. Like, I don't want Nick to be the guy who has to start. But anyways, you got Eric McCoy, very solid center. Cesar Ruiz, I think that he's had a roller coaster of a career. I remember he started out and people were saying like this guy was absolute cheeks. He's had those flashes to where I definitely believe in him. Ryan Ramczyk, the big issue with him is his knee. Like there's no cartilage in there. So people are debating whether he's even going to play this year. And if he does not, I would just say screw it. We're going to put Penning at left tackle and have Tolly be comfortable at right tackle. Speaking of Trevor Penning, he is the backup, and Trevor Penning was one of those guys who I did not like. I just did not like him at all, and unfortunately, because I don't like being right about players I don't like, because who gives a shit about a little bit of an ego boost? Like I don't care about that. I'd rather have been proven wrong and Trevor Penning be like an absolute freak show, but we'll see what happens. I give it a C. I think I'm leaning more towards the floor with that. I think the floor could be like a C- if the receivers can't get their head and ass wired together, essentially, or if Ryan Ramczyk ends up bowing out. I think the ceiling for this, if the offensive line holds and the receiving play steps up, is certainly a B range. So you do have a lot of room to improve, and it is realistic to say that this is being much more pessimistic. But this defense is great, like really, really solid, and let's just talk about that defensive line. Theoretically, they have Chase Young as the backup to Cam Jordan at the moment, but I believe that we all think that Cam Jordan and Chase Young are probably going to be the primary two. But Carl Granderson is listed as the other starting edge rusher. You have a ton of them. We're not even talking about not Peyton Wilson. Peyton Turner, a former first-round pick as well, is still trying to earn his spot. Isaiah Foskey, second-rounder from over a year ago. Like, you have really, really good talent there in that edge core that's developing. And on the defensive interior, which I'm not the biggest fan of, Kalen Saunders, Nathan Shepard, Brian Brzee is the best out of all of them, in my humble opinion, but that's still, I want more investment there. And I thought they had some really good opportunities in this past draft to address it and didn't really do so. But looking at those linebackers, it's kick-ass. I loved Pete Werner when he came into the NFL. I had like an early second-round grade on him. Ended up working out. Willie Gay, for a Sam linebacker, he's had his ups and downs, but the ceiling is undoubtedly there. And he's a Super Bowl winning linebacker, multiple Super Bowl winning linebacker as well, if I'm not mistaken. And you got Demario Davis there, who's an absolute beast as well. Like, it's a really good crew. And then that doesn't even mention Jalen Ford, who's 241 pounds and, has that ability to step in where Willie Gay is as well and be able to play. I guess he's listed as a middle linebacker, but I love him when he's on the line of scrimmage. I really do think that there's a really big future for him there. Safety-wise, you got Matthew and Howden, really solid. Howden, been very underrated. Not a lot of love for him at all, but still a very solid pickup that you guys got. Pretty sure it was a late round pickup as well. But Tyrann Mathieu is fantastic. Just getting old. It's what happens. We age. We're human beings. But in the slot, you got Alontae Taylor. He was one of the guys who I was wrong about because I was watching him as a boundary corner. And that was before I felt more comfortable about projecting boundaries to slots. And then you got Lattimore, who's obviously a supreme beast. And then Paulson Adebo there at left cornerback. Loved him at Stanford as well. So overall, really damn good roster. Let's see how well this roster is when we apply it, though, to the schedule. All right, so As you guys can see, we're starting off to a little bit of a rocky start, 3-5, but that is because this is cumulative. And if you guys want to understand why I did those other games in the real time, feel free to go check out those videos. But we will also be discussing them in this one in case I do have that sudden urge to give a little bit of a switch, a little yearn for the urn, so to speak, for my former record prediction. So let's get right into this. Week 1, facing the Panthers at home. I do like the Panthers. I did just make a video on them, but a lot of uncertainty there. I definitely think that you guys have the early edge, but again, really good team. I do think that the Panthers have a really good shot of sweeping y'all. That being said, not going to give it to them. I do think Dallas is a supremely talented team. They do have their respective holes. I don't think people are addressing or talking about it enough, but Dallas is not a perfect squad by any means. And I do have my concerns for them, but they are, in my opinion, talent-wise superior, and they're at home in Jerry's world, so I do think it is the right move to give the Cowboys the win. Then the Eagles come to town. I do think the Eagles are far more talented than even the Cowboys. And when you're playing in a dome, I don't really take that Louisiana mugginess into factor. I will be giving the Eagles this game. They're just an amazing team. You can't really find a legitimate flaw, especially after their old ass secondary is pretty much being completely rejuvenated with all their new draft capital or all their new draft picks, as well as Isaiah Rodgers coming off that suspension. So good for the Eagles right there. Then you face an at-home game versus the Falcons. This is potentially winnable because we don't know how healthy Kirk's going to be. We don't know how everything is going to be meshed together system-wise, but they are also a better team at home. I think that's okay to say that the Falcons can get a W right there. The Chiefs at home in Arrowhead, I don't think anybody's going to say that this is the wrong selection, but we're going to be going the Chiefs at home. They're the best team in the NFL. Then we have the Buccaneers going to New Orleans, and they're coming off a mini bye. Certainly a team that could pull some upsets, but I do think that you're going to be splitting that series. Sean Payton coming to town in week number 7. I think Sean Payton will have a little bit of a vengeance game here. I'm not sure if I remember if you guys have played him yet since Sean Payton's become the head coach, but regardless, I mean, the Broncos are certainly going to have their struggles, but I do think that the Broncos are going to be able to get the win there. They have some solid pieces for sure. Their issues primarily pertain to the secondary, which unfortunately your issues primarily pertain to the overall receiving core at the moment. And, they got one guy in Surtain, you got one guy in Olave that is going to be a little bit more of that receiving threat. So I do have some faith that, unfortunately the weaknesses cancel each other out. In week number 8, we have the Saints going to LA. And LA is a good squad, really good squad. Very underrated. To be fair, they're not really underrated, but just people aren't talking about them seriously because Harbaugh's in there. But they're going to be certainly an interesting system. It's going to be fun to watch how they grow and develop. But I do think LA is going to be talented enough to pull a win off here. You guys have a tough schedule. You guys have a tough division. There's not many teams that are getting significantly worse. So I do think it's worth mentioning that you guys can certainly squeeze out some victories, but you certainly do not have any easy ones anymore. Week 10, you are going to be splitting this series with the Falcons. Even though I think the Falcons are superior, I will be splitting it. In division games are just so tough. And, I'm going to be giving the home team the nod most of the time. Then we have a fully rested Browns team coming to town. As much as I like to crap on Deshaun Watson, I have a Deshaun Watson rust factor. That's why they'll be graded relatively soon. I still think that they are a massively superior team. And especially that defensive line versus your offensive line, not going to be a pretty day. So we're going to be doing that. Then you face the Rams coming off a bye. But the Rams are such a good team, man. That's a tough game. You guys have some tough games. Looking at this schedule, my Lord. Really tough schedule. I think that you'll upset the Rams, though. You'll have some extra time to prepare. Your defense is your strong suit, which McVay's offense is his strong suit. And I do think there's a lot of moving parts on that defense. Even though I have them as a top 5 team in the NFL, I think that there's going to be certain areas where you can have some room for RNG, so to speak. You then face the Giants when they're on a mini bye. I think that's fine to give them that game. Again, there's upsets that happen every single week. I'm trying my best to factor that in. The Giants, yeah, they're a good squad. They got to pull a win here and there. A fully rested Commanders team, people are a little bit worried about Jaden Daniels in terms of his overall ability. This is a game where I do think you could end up pulling off a victory here, but with a full week of extra preparation, I will say that I'll leave it as is. Green Bay, Monday night. Is this December time too? Oh, that's going to be a brutal game. I don't think you guys are going to disagree with that. Lambeau, right near Christmas. They have all the advantages. Thanks, Tylenol. Yeah, it's going to be a pain in the ass, so maybe you guys should go get some Tylenol. But then that's not medical advice for those dumbasses in my comments. But week 17, you face the Raiders when you're at home. And I do think the Raiders are going to be a very challenging team, but I'll still give you guys the nod. And then in week 18, I had to split it with the Bucs because you guys don't have that big of a talent differential. 5-12. So I think that you guys have an awful schedule. Like, you're facing the NFC East, your own division's a pain in the ass, but you're also facing the AFC West. Like, that's and some NFC North talent in there. Like, you have a couple games in here. Like, I could technically flip a Broncos game. You know what? I mean, I really do think the Broncos could be able to pull that game off. But deep down, I can't give y'all 5 wins. We'll be going back and doing that. That was too close of a game. So I think your defense is really freaking good. So I'm perfectly fine doing that. We gave you that 6th win. You're 6-11. Again, it's a tough division. We're looking at this right here. And yeah, the records aren't great, but that's because it's a very brutal division. And I think I've split. I haven't had a single sweep so far in the division as well. But tough schedule. Good. You guys got to have some hope, though. I mean, you're going to be in a good position to continue rejuvenating your core. And you have a lot of young pieces that are great. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Love y'all. See you on the far side. Peace.